סביבון סוף 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 חנוכה הוא חג טוב, חנוכה הוא חג טוב, סביבון סוף 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 חג שמחה הוא לעם, מסגדו היה שם, מסגדו היה שם, חג שמחה הוא לעם. Linda está aquí, 8 canelas para mí. Chanukah linda está aquí, 8 canelas para mí. Oh, una candelica, 2 candelicas, 3 candelicas, 4 candelicas, 8 candelicas, 6 candelicas, 7 candelicas. 8 candelas para mí, 8 candelas para mí. I flip my rockers in the air sometimes, saying hey-oh, spin the dreidel. Just wanna celebrate for all 8 nights, singing hey-oh, light the candle. We say ma-oh-so, oh yeah, for all 8 nights. Then we play dreidel by the candlelight. And I told you once, now I told you twice, about the miracle of the candlelight. Chanukah, come light the menorah. Let's have a party, we'll all dance the hora. Gather round the table, give you a treat. Sivon to play with and laughters to eat. And while we are playing, the candles are burning low. One for each night they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. One for each night they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. It's time to celebrate Hanukkah. I hope I get a harmonica on this lovely, lovely Hanukkah. So drink your gin and tonica, but don't sing Manish Hanukkah. If you really, really wanna come, have a happy, 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 happy Hanukkah.
Yeah. Oh. Good evening and happy Hanukkah. My name is Amy Bush, and I'm the first vice president of the Jewish Federation of the Raleigh-Cary Board of Trustees. On behalf of the Jewish Federation, JFS and the JCC, welcome to the first Raleigh-Cary virtual community candlelighting and storytelling celebration. We are sorry that we couldn't gather in person, but we are so glad that everyone is joining us virtually. Please remember to keep yourselves on mute, and we recommend speaker view as the best way to view this event. Cameras may be turned on or off. The choice is yours. Feel free to use the chat box to share a holiday greeting with the entire community. You can let everyone know what part of the triangle or the world you are zooming in from, and give a shout out about your favorite latke topping, sour cream, applesauce, or something else. Tonight, we have a 3-part program. First, Sass Orol will lead us in the candle lighting and Hanukkah songs. Next, Gerald Fierst, master storyteller, will engage us in stories of light. Lastly, we will end with a slideshow of our community Hanukkah memories. It is now my pleasure to introduce our first guest, Sass Orol. Sass grew up in Raleigh and has been an active part of the local Jewish community for their whole life. Sass loves to lead Jewish prayer and music and worked as a song leader at Camp JCC for many summers. In the fall of 2020, Sass started pursuing rabbinical ordination through the Jewish Theological Seminary.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. So, hey y'all, I'm Sass. We're gonna start with just a few songs and then candle lighting, and not gonna take up too much time from our master storyteller.
Fierst.
Hear a few voices coming through, so just a reminder to throw yourselves on mute there, especially when we start singing. Zoom, of course, makes a soup of our voices that we try to harmonize. But one of the beautiful things is you're on mute, so you can sing however loud you want to, and no one can hear you except for you, which is fantastic. So I encourage you to sing along. I'm going to share a slideshow with the words to the songs, and we'll get started. Okay, so just three traditional Chanukah songs here. First, Chanukah, Chanukah, Chag Yafeh Kol Kach. Hopefully you can see the Hebrew on the right side and the English on the left. Read from whichever one is best for you. Chanukah, Chanukah, Chag Yafeh Kol Kach. Or Chaviv Mesaviv Gilei Yeled Rach. Chanukah, Chanukah, Sevivam Sof Sof, Sof Sof Sof, Sof Sof Sof, Manayim Batov. We're gonna do it again. Remember, you can sing loudly. No one can hear you. It's fantastic. One of the beautiful things of Zoom. I wish I could hear you because your voices are great, but for now, just, fill up your house. Here we go. We'll do it again. 1, 2, here we go. Chanukah, Chanukah, Chag Yafeh Kol Kach. Or Chaviv Mesaviv Gilei Yeled Rach. Chanukah, Chanukah, Sevivam Sof Sof, Sof Sof Sof, Sof Sof Sof, Manayim Batov. Hopefully you're thinking to yourself, Sivivam Sof 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 is that dreidel spinning around. That'll come back in a moment. But first, we're going to do Chanukah, oh Chanukah. I'm going to do this one English, then Hebrew, then English. Here we go. Chanukah, oh Chanukah, come light the menorah. Let's have a party, we'll all dance the hora. Gather around the table, we'll give you a treat. A sivivon to play with and latkes to eat. And while we are playing, get quiet. The candles are burning low. One for each night, they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. Whoa, whoa. One for each night, they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. You may have Chanukah, Chanukat Mikdashenu, Begilu v'simcha mimalim et libeinu, Laila v'yom tzvivonenu Yisov, Sufganiyot nochal gamarov, Ha'iru, Ha'adliku, Nerot Chanukah Rabim, Al-Hanisim ve'al-Niflaot, Asher kolelu HaMaccabim, Al-Hanisim ve'al-Niflaot, Asher kolelu HaMaccabim. One more time, the English. Chanukah, oh Chanukah, come light the menorah. Let's have a party, we'll all dance the hora. Gather around the table, we'll give you a treat. A sivivon to play with and latkes to eat. And while we are playing, the candles are burning low. One for each night, they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. One for each night, they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago. One more song here. If you were physically in front of me, I would tell you that this is a great opportunity for some moving of the body, as of course you're able to. If you want to stand up and spin like a dreidel, that is always something that's possible. When I used to do this with kids all the time, you can even put your hands above your head like the top of a dreidel if you want to. Of course, if you're just in your seat, You can spin your hand like a dreidel. There are all sorts of ways to do this one. Sivivon sof 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 just means dreidel, spin, spin, spin. So have fun with it however you'd like to right now. Sivivon sof sof sof, Chanukah hu chag tov, Chanukah hu chag tov, Sivivon sof sof sof, Chag simcha na'am, Neskadol haya sham, Neskadol haya sham, Chag simcha na'am, Sivivon sof sof sof, Chanukah hu chag tov, Chanukah hu chag tov, Sivivon sof sof sof, Chag simcha na'am, Neskadol haya sham, Neskadol haya sham, Chag simcha na'am, Sivivon sof sof sof, Chanukah hu chag tov, Chanukah hu chag tov, Sivivon sof sof sof. Chag simcha una'am, Neskadol haya sham, Neskadol haya sham, Chag simcha una'am. Okay, at this point in time, you can go ahead and get your candles ready. Instructions are up there if they're helpful, but as a reminder, it's the first night, so you should have one candle and of course one extra candle because, you know, in Jewish community, when we say it's the first night, how many candles? 2, it's just how it goes. Yeah. Candle goes in on the right side of your Chanukiah, of your Chanukah menorah, and the shamash is often a little above, below, or apart. Find your matches or lighter, and we'll begin the blessings in just a moment. Rabbis always asking questions say, why do we say 3 blessings on the first night of Hanukkah, right? We're going to do 3 brachot here. One answer is Hanukkah is, of course, a celebration of freedom, the ability of the Jewish community to be free to follow our culture, act how we want to with each other. And true freedom comes when we have the freedom to think, to say, and to act, all in concert with how we want to be. So 3 blessings, one for each of those. I'll lead these. It's customary to light as we're going along. There's only 1 candle to light, so take it at whatever pace makes sense, but we'll begin together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Chanukah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim lavoteinu bayamim hahem b'zman hazeh. It is our first night. We say thank you for making it to this moment. And truly, it's been such a difficult year. It is a blessing to even just be able to light the candles together, even in this odd way. And this bracha takes us moment to moment throughout Jewish life. So let's sing it together, full voice as you're able. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Happy Hanukkah, everybody. I'm going to pass it over to Jerry, our storyteller.
Hi, thank you so much, Sass. That was wonderful. My name is Dina Stambler. I'm the Program and Outreach Manager at Jewish Family Services. My pleasure to introduce Gerald Fierst, our storyteller. Gerald has presented and performed at Cage, Limud, and the National Havurah Conference. He is a recipient of the Just Stories Fellowship for his work creating a program about Jewish, Muslim, and Christian identity in the 21st century America. He has been a featured storyteller at the National Storytelling Festival in Jonesboro, Tennessee, and a storyteller in residence at the International Storytelling Center. ABC News has called him a master storyteller. Welcome, Jerry. We're so pleased to have you tonight in Raleigh.
Well, thank you, Dina. Thank you. Sass, that was wonderful. I loved it. I just, I'm so glad to be with all of you today. As I light the candles, I've always thought of this moment where, as the earth rotates, Jews all around the world, because Jews live all around the world, are lighting candles, and there's a circle of light that's surrounding our world. And in this dark year, that's a wonderful image to hold on to. This is the time of year when we chase away the darkness and believe with faith that the light is coming back. And that faith makes the light, retains the light. And that's what Hanukkah is all about, I think. That's what I've always thought. There's a wonderful midrash. God said, "Let there be light" on the first day. But it wasn't until the fourth day that God created the sun, the moon, and the stars. So, what was the light of that first day? Now, before I tell you the answer, I'm going to tell you a story. And this is the story. I think you've been asked or told that if you had an apple and a knife available, you could use it for one of the stories. This is the story. Come, get your apple and your knife and get ready, because this is a story about a little apple tree that grew on the hills of Jerusalem. And that tree was runted and twisted and looked up at the great heavens above and thought, "Oh, what am I? Just a tree. I wish I were a star. I wish I could shine like the lights of heaven, but I'm only a tree." And then the tree blossomed, and the blossoms were beautiful. But the tree said, "What good are they? There aren't that many anyway. The stars are infinite. My blossoms, they won't last. All I am is a tree. If only I could be as beautiful as the stars." And then the tree was right. The blossoms fell, but apples formed. The tree was loaded with fruit. But now the tree thought, "Oh, what a burden this is. What heaviness my life has. The stars, they're light. They're filled with light. Oh, I wish I could shine like a star. Oh, but I'm only a tree." And then the apples dropped and fell upon the ground. And when they fell, and this is the time, they broke apart. Cut your apple, not as we usually do in wedges, quarters, but halfway through the center. And when you do, what you'll see, here I have one that, my prop apple, which I think will be a little easier to see, is the star inside. Because you see, there is a star inside of each and every one of us and everything, if only we look. And sometimes we have to look in a way which we never looked before. So now I come back to my midrash and ask you, what's the answer? What was the light of that first day? That first let there be light? Well, it was the word, the breath, God's breath the Spirit that filled everything and out of which everything is made and which is inside of all of us. You know, it's said that when the second temple was destroyed and the city of Jerusalem was in flames, the Romans were looting, and the general of the Roman army ran to the Temple Mount and through the corridors to the Holy of Holies, to the inner chamber where only once a year the high priest on Yom Kippur would go in and pronounce the name of God. And there, the general was sure, was the greatest treasure of all. After all, that was the presence of God. And so the general rushed through the flames, through the looting. He rushed to this chamber surrounded by white curtains, pulled the curtains away and looked. And then he started to laugh. There was nothing there. Nothing. The Jews worship nothing, is what the general laughed. But you know what? The chamber was filled with the presence of God. Not a presence that you can necessarily always see, but a presence which is always there. And when the high priest would say the name of God, and nobody really knows how to say the name of God because there are no vowels, and the letters in Hebrew are unaspirated letters. And so you see those letters, if you try to say them without any vowels, what comes out? Breath. The breath of humankind is the name of God. You know, the most popular of all Jewish characters, you ask somebody, who's the most popular Jewish character? And they'll say Moses or Solomon, but it's Elijah, the prophet, who travels the world to this day, travels the world and comes in many different forms. In all the stories, Elijah comes in many different forms. My dog is barking because she saw me cutting an apple, and that's her treat. And Elijah comes in many different forms. And so it was that one day on Hanukkah, the first night of Hanukkah, I was leaving the 92nd Street Y. Excuse me, I'm going to give my dog her Hanukkah treat, or she is not going to let me tell a story. I was leaving the 92nd Street Y, and it was rush hour. It was the first night of Hanukkah. I had to take a bus home. I had to take the subway. I wanted to get home to light the menorah. And suddenly I felt a tap on my shoulder. And, you know, I was startled. Who's stopping me? And I turned around and there was an old lady. And she said, please, would you get me a hot chocolate? Well, I wanted to make my bus, but it was an old lady. And, you know, my bubby, my great-grandmother, she used to give us $1 and she'd say, don't go to the big store, go to the little man. If we don't help the little guy, who will? And I heard my bubby's voice. I thought, I'll make the next bus. And so I walked into the little grocery store on the corner. And she said, you just go in and you turn to your left and go down the corridor, down the aisle, and you'll see the hot chocolate. I expected to see a coffee bar, but it wasn't. It wasn't a coffee bar. It was shelves with packages, 12 packages in a box of hot chocolate. It wasn't $1, it was $5, but it was Hanukkah. Okay, $5. I bought the box of hot chocolate and walked outside, and there was that old lady standing there in the crowd, rushing by, the turmoil of rush hour in New York City. And I gave her the box, the bag, and she said, bless you. And then she turned and she took a step and disappeared into the swirling crowd. It was Elijah the prophet, who had come to me in the form of that old lady. And I bet in all the people who are listening to my story today, someone, and more than someone, has an Elijah story like that. When did you meet Elijah? And what form did Elijah come to teach you a lesson in sharing? Hanukkah is a time we give the presents, but it isn't just the presents, it's the sharing, it's the family moment of latkes and applesauce. One of my favorite stories of all time. So when I grew up, my great-grandmother, she took care of us until I was about 8 years old. The house was filled with cousins. I was told that when I grew up, when I was born, there was my great-grandmother, my great-aunt Tilly, my great-uncle Sam, my Aunt Alice, my Uncle Sidney, my cousin Jenny, my mother, my father, my sister, and me, all living in the same house. And my cousin Lillian, she says, because there was so little space, they put me in a dresser drawer as a baby instead of a crib. So my great-grandmother would talk to us, but she only spoke Yiddish. So somewhere or another, I understand Yiddish, but because nobody ever told me anything afterwards. But I can hear Yiddish sometimes. And one of the authors I love to read is Isaac Bashevis Singer. The translations of Isaac Bashevis Singer have the rhythms of Yiddish. There's a wonderful 8 Nights for Hanukkah book of Isaac Bashevis Singer stories. And one of my favorite of his Hanukkah stories is the first Shlemiel. Now, if you don't know Yiddish, a Shlemiel is a dork, a doofus, someone who can't do anything right. And there was a first Shlemiel, and his name was Shlemiel. And he was married to Mrs. Shlemiel. And they had a baby Shlemiel. And it was Hanukkah coming. And for the holiday, Mrs. Shlemiel was going to make latkes and spread them thick with apple juice and applesauce and apple butter. But you know, in those days, you didn't go to the store and buy a jar. You had to make it yourself, and it was work. You had to peel the apples and cut the apples and core the apples and put them into a pot under a low flame, and then you stir and 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 you stir, and the steam rises up and the sweat pours down, and you stir until at last the fruit cooks down thick and rich and dark and delicious and oh, so sweet. And Mrs. Shlemiel, she thought, if that Shlemiel of a husband of mine finds out that there's anything this sweet in the house, he'll eat it up before the holiday comes. I better hide it away. And so she took it and took the pot and put a lid on it and put it up on the topmost shelf of the kitchen. And then she said, Shlemiel, I'm going out for a breath of fresh air. And I want you to remember 3 things. First, the rooster is asleep in the corner. Whatever you do, don't let him fly outside. He'll fly away and get lost. And second, Shlemiel, the baby is asleep in his crib. Whatever you do, don't let him climb out. He'll fall and bump his head. And third, and most important of all, Shlemiel, you see that pot on the topmost shelf of the kitchen? Whatever you do, don't touch it. It's filled with poison. Yes, my darling. Yes, my sweetheart. Yes, my little cabbage flower, said Shlemiel. And Mr. Shlemiel went out, and Mr. Shlemiel, he sat down by the baby's crib to tell a little story and sing a little song. I'm a Shlemiel and you're a Shlemiel and we'll be Shlemiels together. And he fell asleep. And he had a dream of a giant pancake. And he was in one corner, and Mrs. Shlemiel was in the other, and they were eating. And as they got to the center of the pancake, their lips met in a kiss. Ah! Shlemiel sighed a great sigh, which woke up the rooster, who let out a giant crow. And the crow of the rooster startled Shlemiel out of his dream. And he jumped out of his chair and bumped into the baby's crib, and the baby went rolling out on the floor and bumped its head. Help, help, help. The baby's bumped its head. Help, help, help. Schlemiel ran to the window, threw it open, and the rooster flew out the window. Ay, ay, ay. The rooster's flown away. The baby's bumped his head. Mrs. Schlemiel is going to come home. She's going to shout. She's going to scream. She's going to rant. She's going to rape. She's going to say all sorts of terrible things. I might as well be dead. I know. I'll take the poison. Then she'll be sorry. And so Schlemiel went and took down the pot of jam, took off the lid, looked at the thick, rich, dark stuff, stuck his hand way down deep, and it's good. It's tasty. If I'm going to eat a little, I might as well eat the whole thing. And so Schlemiel ate that pot of jam down to the bottom. And then he waited for something to happen. But all that happened was he got thirsty. So he got a bottle of apple cider that they had been saving for the holiday and drank it down. And then things started to happen. I'm dying, I'm dying. He had a terrible stomach ache. He took himself to bed, rolling and moaning and groaning, and he fell asleep. And he had a dream of a pancake. He was in one corner, she was in the other. They were eating. But just before their lips should meet, he heard a voice calling him in his sleep. Schlemiel, Schlemiel. Certainly it was the angel of death come to collect his soul. Schlemiel opened his eyes, expecting to see the gates of paradise there standing over his bed. It wasn't an angel. It was Mrs. Schlemiel. You nincompoop, you ninny, you nitwit. Whenever I leave you alone, everything goes wrong. What am I to do? Stop, 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 he said. Don't say another word. Don't say today what you can't take back tomorrow. For tomorrow I'll be dead and gone. What are you talking about? I tell you it's the truth. It's the truth because I ate the poison. The poison, says Mrs. Schlemiel? That poison? Oh, no, you Schlemiel, it wasn't poison. It was jam, jam for our holiday pancakes. What, said Schlemiel? It wasn't poison. It was jam, jam for our holiday pancakes. I'm not going to die. I'm going to live. I'm so happy. And the two of them, they start to cry so loud that all the neighbors come running. And the Schlemiels tell the whole story. And then one kind neighbor goes out and finds the rooster and brings it back. And another neighbor goes out and gets some apple cider and jam and brings it back. And then all the neighbors help put baby Schlemiel back to sleep. And so you see, the Schlemiels had a happy Hanukkah after all, which only goes to show God takes care of all of us, even the Schlemiels. So Isaac Bashevis Singer reproduced in his stories the world of the shtetl, a world which is no more, but the lessons, the rhythms, those are eternal. Those are the rhythms of family and of understanding that even a Schlemiel is someone to be enjoyed and respected. I'm going to teach you one last story. It's a sign language story, and you can do it with me. In American Sign Language, this is a K. When you put it across your chest, it means king, king. Or an upside down C, this is a Q. When you put a Q across your chest, it means queen. Queen, it's like the sash, a royal sash. I always look at the images, king or queen. Say the words and do the signs with me, okay? Go, I am the king or queen of me. I can become whatever I want to be. The sun and me are two of a kind, with our hearts and our imaginations and our pride. Together, we shine and shine and shine. We're going to do it one more time so that you remember it. The way stories live is that one person tells it to another, to another, to another, to another. And just like those lights that I started this storytelling with, the story travels around the world from person to person. And someday I'm sure this sign language story will come back to me. One more time, ready? I am the king or queen of me. I can become whatever I want to be. The sun and me are two of a kind, with our hearts, imaginations, and pride. Together, we shine and shine and shine. So I hope that you, with your hearts, imaginations, and pride, together tell Jewish stories. There are two signs for Jewish. This is the old sign. So it's the beard. Some people think that that is not a nice sign. So another sign is the scrolls opening the Torah. But I like the beard. Jewish stories. A story is a little thing that you pull out, a tale. Stories that shine and shine and shine. Thank you and have a wonderful holiday. And let us hope that the new year of 2021 brings light to all the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerald, for sharing these wonderful stories and helping to brighten our Hanukkah celebration. Thanks to all of you for joining the Federation, JFS, and JCC for our first virtual Hanukkah candlelighting. Please check social media and watch your email for 7 more nights of different community members leading us in candle lightings. We will end our program with a slideshow of your Hanukkah memories. Thanks to all who submitted these wonderful photos. Good night.
One candle for the Maccabees' children. Give thanks that their light didn't die. Light one candle for the pain they endured when their right to exist was denied. Light one candle for the terrible sacrifice justice and freedom demand. But light one candle for the wisdom to know when the peacemaker's time is at hand. Don't let the light go out. It's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears. Light one candle for the strength that we need to never become our own foe. And light one candle for those who are suffering pain we learned so long ago. Light one candle for all we believe in, let anger not tear us apart. And light alive in that flame. What's the commitment to those who've died? That we cry out they've not died in vain. We have come this far, always believing that justice will somehow prevail. This is the burden, this is the promise, and this is why we will not Don't let the light, don't let the light, don't let the light.